I get a phone call. Hey man, there's this great deal over on such and such a street, such and such a street. What you think we ought to do? I said, man, give us a minute to catch up. And then he goes, man, I already signed the contract. I'm like, oh God, here we go.
All right, so we're here today at our McKenzie Rehab property, which is in Hillsboro, Texas. This one was purchased a few months back, and it's been a full, complete gut job. So we're here today to check up on the progress and let you guys see a little bit about what we've been working on. So the man right here to my right is Calvin Jenkins. He's my partner, my father-in-law, also my builder, general contractor, pretty much everything construction is this guy right here. He's the lead on pretty much all of our projects, so he does a fantastic job.
All right, we purchased this house about 10 months ago. However, it wasn't a project that we was rushing to complete. It was more of a side project, like when we're slow in other areas, we come over here and work on this house. But now we just completed the first phase of inspections, so now it's a rush now to get it done before maybe February, March, so we can get it on the market for a rental. So right now it's still just a skeleton, but you can see all the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC already done. And as you see, most of the exterior and the windows are in already. So other than that, of course, there was a back porch, and we added a complete addition to the house. We added a master suite, another bathroom. It was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. We added a master suite, we added a dining room, and we added a master bathroom. So that was a big challenge getting that passed through the city because of some surveying issues, but we eventually got it passed. And now we're rocking and rolling, man. We're heading to the finish line.
I think that's pretty accurate, man, especially with the inspection being done in the next day or so. Man, it's gonna be, that's the hardest part, is really getting past this inspection. So once this is passed, you're off to the races. So Hillsboro in general typically is underserviced for the amount of inventory that's out there. So rental property is hard to come by out here. Typically the prices are a little more than $1 a foot. So it's not as strong as the DFW metropolitan area, but it holds pretty strong. And usually when a house like this that's been redone comes available, it's snatched up immediately. So it won't take but a couple of days to get this one rented out. The best part about working with Calvin, in my opinion, is just his ability to understand on the fly customization and how we view things with each project. A lot of times I have a lot of changes and things that I like to make, and contractors in general just don't love for you to just change things off the fly. And he always is very responsive. He understands what I'm trying to say. A lot of times when I have an adjustment or something like that I need to do on the fly, he does something that makes it better than what I even envisioned. So just his experience, his patience with me, and being able to just make the project so much simpler by not adding stress. He just kind of is the de-stressor, the secret sauce to making these things fly. So we've worked together for a long time, and I appreciate the relationship that we have, not only as family, but as partners. He gets it.
The main thing I enjoy working with Conrad, he's a man of integrity, and he's business-minded all the time. So there's always something that he can always add to what we're doing, and plus he's a numbers guy. So whenever we look at it, buying a property or redoing a property, I always run the numbers by him just so we're on the same page. And he's got a sharp eye for good deals out here in the market. So
the hardest part about working with Calvin, I would say, and you can ask this not only to me, but to anybody else he's ever done work for, is the hardest part is catching up with him to pay him. Because he typically leaves one job and goes to the next job, and then goes to the next job, and then he's supposed to come back and get the payment, and you can't never find him after that because he's going and going and going and going and going. So I think that's probably the hardest part. Anybody who works with Calvin's like, man, I've been trying to pay this guy for a month, 2 months, I can't find him. So that's the biggest challenge. You know, we do a lot of good work together. He's done a lot of good work for others as well. Everybody who uses him loves him. You know, it's just one of those key ingredients that you need to have on your team. Someone like Calvin, but you can't have this one because that's mine.
The hardest part about working with him is he's always looking for that next deal. So he's always adding, and we're not finished yet, in other words. So he's always got another project, another thing going. Just as soon as we got some daylight, maybe got a break here, get some rest here, there, and then I get a phone call. Hey man, there's this great deal over on such and such a street, such and such a street. What you think we ought to do? I said, man, give us a minute to catch up. And then he goes, I already signed the contract. I'm like, oh God, here we go. So that's the hardest. That's the hardest part. It's not a bad thing, but it's hard. So.
So it's been a little while since we've been back at our venue here at Sunset Ranch. There's a lot that's been done to the property and to the grounds since the last time we were here. One of those things is we put in over 2,500 linear feet of road and paveway. So what we're doing with that is that road expands completely across 8 acres, 8 of the 25 acres we have here, to allow you to access the whole property from front to back. That wasn't here previously, so that was a big need for our property. Putting in a road this size can be challenging. You do have to work with the topography of the landscape, making sure that when you put the road in, you have room for water runoff and watershed. You also have to clear out a lot of the dead trees, which they did. And you can't just cut the trees down. Some of these trees have been here for hundreds, maybe even 1,000 years. So when you do trees of that size and that magnitude, we have a big backhoe that comes in and digs huge holes. We burn it with propane down to ashes, and then you bury the stumps. So they did that in many places across the property. They cleared out a lot of land. There were fencing that was made and put in originally when this property was just one parcel of land. It was meant for cattle and for animals, and so they took a lot of the fencing out. We'll have to add new fencing in, and then you get the big, dirt trucks and dump trucks to come in and dump, miles and miles and miles of gravel. So we didn't have any problems clearing the roads or, clearing the land. One thing that we were a little unsure of until we started opening up some of those trees was the survey lines. Even though we had the lot lines on the survey, seeing them in person and seeing how close they are to the neighbors was something that we just weren't 100% sure of. So once we opened up those pathways, we were able to find the metal in the ground, find the stakes, and then see how far we could get to that road. Construction of a building has to be 20 feet off of the property line minimum. So we had to make sure we didn't get too close to the neighbors. That way we could still bring the road through, build the building like we want to, add the addition without messing up any restrictions from the deed. The next thing we did was we put in 2 parking lots. We put in a smaller parking lot in the front of the venue and the main parking lot in the back of the venue, which should hold in total about 70 cars. So we've tried to add a lot more parking, a lot more accessibility for our grounds. That way, once we continue the construction of the building, that we can go ahead and start getting events and getting things shown and hosted and put into participation. So a lot being done here. Another thing that we've done is add a 3rd pond to the property. We already had 2, over acre pond, a 1/4 acre pond, and now we have just about a 1/3 acre pond that we've added. So trying to keep different water features on the property for your event experience is very important, and that's one of the things that we've added here. So we're excited about this project. We're excited about this venue. We know you're gonna love it.